Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to go over Greenskins, and Greenskins just got a new update. New content, bring it to you live from the new patch 6.0. Let's go into how they feel now that there's been the patch and what I recommend the beginning army to be. So as always, this is our beginning army and let's talk about it. So, first of all, for the lore choice, I'm going to look at Wurzag. Wurzag is someone who used to be brought a lot for the Bonewood Staff, and we're actually going to be bringing him for the same reason. So, Fist of Gork, here we go. I'll explain it in a second, but the you can optionally bring this one too, but let's just bring these two, Effigy of the Git and the new Mumbo Jumbo chant. And basically, this is the idea with Wurzag. Bonewood Staff, plus 12 melee attack and charge bonus. Fist of Gork, plus 24 melee attack, melee defense, magic attacks. Here we go, plus 40 melee attack. Mumbo Jumbo Chant, plus 16 leadership, plus 24, plus 25, plus 25. An effigy of the gets just to freeze something in place. It's always good. Basically, what we're going to be doing with Wurzag, we chuck him into, not into the fight, but close to the fight, within 55 meters of like a big pit fight. And then we will be casting Fist of Gork and Irigo to get the Bonewood Staff, which for 17 seconds buffs everything in that radius by 12 melee attack. And what we're going to be doing is basically making super powerful, statted out troops using these buff spells. So this one is area of effect, 35 meters, and this one is just a single target. And basically, we're just going to be going for making a big blob of really strong infantry and whatever else you need. And then you can also use the Mumbo Jumbo chant. You don't have to use them all at the same time, but you want to be having these ones up when you're in those big fights, and make sure that Wurzag is close enough that he's getting that the units are actually getting those Bonewood Staff. So I was playing around with this. You can go watch the tournament that I played in yesterday, and you can see that this was actually a really fun strategy. I played it in my game versus Khorne. Also in that game versus Khorne, I brought the new Ragnarok Spider with Flinger. Now the missile attack isn't that strong. It's not. It's a little underwhelming. Sometimes it connects really well, but the vigor is nice. So basically, basically why you're bringing this is as a anti-large unit. So at 78 or 58 melee attack plus 20 bonus versus large, high armor, good HP. Basically, this thing is there for being a counter to big scary lords, or like a train on the Chaos Dwarves, and also for killing things like Minotaurs that you might not have a good answer for otherwise. So this just does the job well, and especially if you're casting like Fist of Gork on it, it'll really do good damage and making the most out of these buffs. So for the next part of the army, we are going to go into, while we're talking about the new units, let's also look at this one. To some degree, I'm trying to prevent units from picking units in this beginner build that are just going to get nerfed to the next patch, but this is one that I do currently recommend that might get nerfed, but it's just so cost effective. 550 for two squig summons that last 90 seconds. It's hard not to bring this. So the way that I was doing it is I summon this behind the enemy infantry, and then I rear charge, not on top of the enemy infantry, but just behind, and then rear charge. So very cost effective right now. We'll see if he gets nerfed in some way later, but for now it's a good kit. And then the last of the new units for the starting army are going to be Black Orcs. Let's actually just I'm going to put 2 Black Orcs, but then let's put the rest of the infantry in. And then yeah. So basically, the Black Orcs are going to work well with the Orc Boys. I'm going to recommend that you go with a melee style. Now, there's plenty of ways to do range units on the Greenskin roster. They have, good Savage Orc Arrow Boys. The new ROR is pretty good. The Rusty Arrows are pretty good. But for the sake of simplicity, I think Ungabunga is still just a strong style, meaning like mostly just melee infantry. Um, so basically, looking at orc boys have pretty low leadership, not terribly low leadership. Okay stats, not great, not terrible. Just a solid mid-tier infantry with low armor. Savage orcs are a little bit better, so you can see they have they have a little bit more speed, melee attack, weapon strength, but they do have frenzy, so they get a little bit extra, but less armor, 25% physical resist, so slightly better. Um, Basically, these things fight for a little bit and then they rout. And why I'm recommending Black Orcs mixed in is because these things have 110 armor, 42 melee defense, and melee attack, high weapon strength. So basically, I want you to have something left when the first melee wave crashes and then starts to rout, as Greenskins tend to do. You'll still have some troops there to holding in the fight, holding down points, or just continuing to battle to provide some more sustainability throughout the fight. Now for the last unit, I'm actually just going to recommend you bring one of these. They're very cheap, so it might be worth considering bringing a couple. Actually, was I going to recommend this one? Let's see if I can make the spend on this one work, and I'll say why. And then let's actually change that one to we'll do the spear unit. So spears are, this is one of the newish units. Didn't come with this patch, but it came recently. It's kind of nice to have just like one spear mixed in. Not amazing stats or anything, but sometimes it's nice to have one spear mixed in to, just put in your back line in case your opponent tries to overwhelm you with a cavalry or monstrous infantry. It's nice to have one on hand. The reason I'm recommending the Spider Rider instead of the Wolf Rider is that this one is not expendable. They both have Vanguard. They're both fast. This one's a little faster. This one does have poison, so when it's shooting you in the face, it's slowing you down. So that's nice too. And yeah, they're not great in melee, so they're mostly just a Vanguard unit. But full capture weight for a cav unit, so like 3. And yeah, very cheap. So just try not to recommend too many of these in the Greenskins because Skirm Cav are even like less impactful in the Greenskin roster. Except while we're still talking about the Skirm Cav, the Mangy Marauders with their armor piercing are really good. This unit can kill. I've seen it kill an entire. It also has high model count relative to other Skirmish Cav. I've seen this unit kill a Chaos Dwarf train like basically by itself. So very useful to have as just like a anti-armor poker. And not recommending you bring it in the starting army because its shots are kind of wasted unless it's shooting something that's armored. But okay, so let's look. We'll have to fix the spend a little bit here. So let's start with the bolt thrower again. It's talking about the new units. I'm gonna recommend you bring the regular one. The bolt throwers, I'm recommending you bring it. They are good. So they're pretty good at shooting large things, especially. They're not like overtuned or anything, but they do respectable damage, and they have mostly armor piercing, so you can shoot it at like our heavily armored infantry. But their main thing is killing large things, and sometimes I think you're gonna want this no matter what. So like if there's a like gyrocopters, right? This is gonna be your best answer for killing gyrocopters. So very very like flexible unit, has a lot of niches. The last, I think this is the last one that I'm gonna recommend you bring. of the new stuff. One Mangler Squig. So right now the Mangler Squigs are being capped to one in tournaments. So I'm gonna recommend that you just bring one. They have this explosion, right? And they have pretty high weapon strength. What I found with these, playing with them a little bit yesterday, they're actually very good at killing single entities. They're good at killing like cavalry, things like that. But they're not good at killing and elite infantry. But what they're not good at killing is like chaff. So they're kind of wasted fighting chaff. They're not that good at that because I guess they have low armor and relatively low melee defense. So they take a lot of damage when they're fighting cheap infantry. So very good at killing elite stuff, and their explosion does a ton of damage. So you just kind of chuck it into something expensive, and it will usually pay for itself. Now, so let's do the infantry last. Let's just start with that off, and then we'll come back to it. Let's talk a little bit about mobility. Now, a lot of players recently have been using the cheap war boys, especially the Savage Orc war boys. And the reason that they're doing that is because they're like a reasonably hard hitting. They're bigger than large, so there's a secret size, and they have extra collision than regular cabs. So they do a lot of damage on the charge, and they have good armor piercing. So pretty solid unit. Kind of sticks around, and good blast damage. But I'm actually going to recommend that you bring two of the anti-large ones. Even though they've gotten nerfs recently and they're a little costly now, they still do their job well, which is be an armor-piercing anti-large fighter. They do high charge bonus and good melee attack when you add in the bonus versus large. This is just a good generalist unit for killing enemy like armored cav. It'll outperform most mid-tier armored cav. So nice to recommend it, especially when you're getting the charge bonuses. Now, for the other pieces of mobility, this is also maybe a little bit of an unusual recommendation, but I'm going to recommend that you bring the Night Goblin Squig Hoppers. I did some testing yesterday. Their ideal target is like a champion or like a armored infantry. They do a lot of damage on the charge, so if you can cycle charge them, that's great. But if you can't cycle charge them, they're just a good answer to armored infantry. So that's their favorite target. Yeah, so they're not insane performers, but it's nice to have like a reasonable bonus versus infantry unit. And then talking about the squigs, so I'm not recommending that you bring any squig herds. And there's a reason for it. I think squig herds are no longer as cost effective as they used to be. So for example, I saw a squig herd like struggling to kill a goblin unit. They're very good on the charge right now. Something to do with the way that splash damage was changed. But they're not like insane value anymore. And they're a little harder to use effectively. So I don't want to recommend that you bring too many of them, but as you get more comfortable, you can switch these ones out for squigs, and you'll probably do better if you can keep them in their ideal circumstances. And then the last unit I'm going to recommend is you bring one of mass mobility. Snottling pump wagons. So snottling pump wagons, basically it's a 12 entity chariot, and I did some testing with these, and if they can hit unbraced infantry, they do very well. You don't want them staying in infantry for long, but you charge them in, take them out, charge them in again. It's a good poke piece, it does a lot of damage to infantry, armored infantry and unarmored infantry. So of the chariots, I did some testing. I think this one is the most cost effective in general, but the other ones are worth considering too. And okay, let's see now for the rest of it. It's just the infantry. So I found out something kind of interesting with the Nasty Skulker yesterday. So Nasty Skulkers in general, they did recently get a little buff. Um, Basically, these things have stock and AP. So if you can kind of use this as like a sneaky unit that can rear charge a an armored infantry, it'll do very well, especially because it has this attacking rear or flank. It gets a massive buff. So if you can use this as like a, and also as vanguard, so you can use this kind of sneaky unit to attack from behind a armored infantry, it'll do really well. It also has this smoke bomb, which can make some niche situations where, like, you don't want things running away. But what I found it was really good for, and why I'm recommending you in the first place, is really good at killing single entity artillery. So I found this on a death streak. It basically, you can watch the games yesterday too, but it basically destroyed the death streak rocket launcher in, like, I don't know, 10 seconds. So very, very good at that purpose, and a little bit niche for sure, but I think it's worth having one to, you can, especially because it has Vanguard and stock. At the very least, it can go capture you at points with, full capture weight. So worth considering. Definitely a little harder to make use, but worth playing with and getting used to. So for the last bit, I'm going to recommend you bring, let's see how the spend works out. I think I can do this. Okay. 4 Savage Orcs, 1 Orc Boy. Now, to finish this video off, how I'm recommending that you play this, get to 1 point, at least 1 point, or 2 points preferably, and use your Ragnarok Spider to kind of poke the enemy at the beginning. You can move all of these into one, like the central location, but make sure that you're, like, if your opponent has a lot of shooting, then make sure that you're summoning all of these units. And then basically, if they don't have a lot of shooting, you're relying on your Ragnarok Spider, you're relying on your Squigs, you're relying on your Bolt Thrower, your Pump Wagon. But if they do have a lot of shooting, you have to summon all of your infantry before you attack. Go as wide as possible and crash on them at once. So let's just pull up Edge of the Darkwood. So imagine your opponent is fighting here in the middle and has, like, guns here in the back. Basically, you're bringing all of your troops around and collapsing on all sides at once. So that's what the Unga Bunga is good for. This is for high aggression. You want to be overwhelming your opponents with a lot of cheaper infantry, and then relying on these cost-effective squig summons, etc., to overwhelm them. And then the Snodling Pump Wagon as well. So yeah, Greenskins, very fun right now. I really like the changes. I think it gives a lot more diversity to the roster. So definitely explore, see how you like them, and yeah, give them a try. They're a lot of fun. So thanks for watching. Not sure what's next in the cards, if I'll have time to do testing for Khorne later. But Khorne and Ogres are in the cards. I think Ogres might be a little bugged right now, so might need to do that one after any potential fixes. But thanks for watching, and see you next time.